Oh boy, it looks like the right-wing movement is in major trouble. Nope, it's not. But there sure is a lot of very interesting infighting between Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson, as it looks like they were fighting before. Then they had a conversation. Then they had a kind of moment coming together, and now they're fighting again. Now, what's really behind this beef? As a lot of people accuse Nick of firing the first shots, other people are saying, no, it's actually Tucker. Tucker had a very interesting moment with Piers Morgan that Nick is talking about in a very interesting way, especially when it comes to pushing open the Overton window, as I believe a lot of this kind of right-wing infighting is surrounding the next upcoming presidential election. As some people say, it has a lot more to do with Palantir, with J.D. Vance, versus what looks like a more anti-establishment type of movement that is coalescing and forming all around some of the more controversial issues in our political discourse. As right now, the whole conversation about Antichrist, surveillance tech, digital AI, national identification systems, nuke, artificial intelligence, I think is at the heart of really what's going on here, as individuals like Tim Dillon are definitely picking sides here, while others, it's a little bit murkier. But I think there's a little bit more between this drama that we're going to be talking about here, as well as the Overton window, where the conversation is, where I think it should be going, what I think of both of these individuals that I previously met before on a limited basis, and I'll go over all of that and a lot more all here on this independent media broadcast. If you appreciate these type of conversations, subscribe, click the notification button. We greatly appreciate all the time that you spend with us. Now, there was no love lost between these two. They attacked each other. They made accusations against each other. And both of them represent two major political figureheads that a lot of people are listening to. Now, the two recently came together, did a podcast where they had this very interesting exchange.
I thought you were a Fed.
I thought you were a Fed.
No, you're a Fed. No, wait, what? Who's a Fed? As that's always the kind of conversation that is taking place here. All of my enemies are Feds. And it was a very unique moment, as Tucker Carlson did face a lot of backlash. I mean, there was already major efforts to try to cancel Tucker Carlson. And I think this is worth noting to the context of the pushback that Nick is giving him, as Nick is coming out and saying, no, he's calling me specific names now, so I got to rebuttal. He attacked me first. I got to rebuttal. And he thinks that there's a bigger kind of conspiracy here behind him being, quote, platform. But regardless of that, I think it is worth noting that the platforming of Nick has cost Tucker significant points, especially amongst the kind of right-wing establishment that went even more berserk against him, as already there was major donors, big money, a lot of pressure, lots of attack vectors against him before that, and then it just ratcheted up very intensely when he said, I'm going to have a conversation. And the conversation was more nuanced. It wasn't like, yeah, we're buddy-buddy now. No, it was like, okay, let's talk about this. Tucker made an attempt to talk about the kind of generalized statements that Nick previously talked about earlier in his type of career. He seemed to sort of walk back as it was a form of verbal jujitsu that we saw on play and display here. As now people are saying, well, the beef with Tucker Carlson and Nick is back on. As this is what Nick had to say about the latest developments of what happened between these two major kind of political figures.
Tucker bringing me on was not a way to support me. That wasn't trying to do me a favor, contrary to what people think. And it's important that people know that.
Yeah, no, a lot of people are like, no, you're platforming him, you're endorsing him. I hate that argument. Like, that argument is, no, you're having a conversation, which I think is worth having, and you're starting it up. Right? Conversations are worth having. And automatically people have come from the viewpoint, he endorsed it, he supported it. No, you don't. You're just having a freaking conversation. Let people talk. And this is why the kind of establishment right is losing favor. And now the knives are out to who's going to be the king anti-establishment figure. Now, he kind of hints at potentially there being a bigger kind of play here to undermine him and to push J.D. Vance.
He was not doing me a favor. This was a keep your enemies closer type movement, which was to bring me in to neutralize me, that I might be enamored or that I might be grateful or something and say, oh, thank you so much, while they shove the knife in my back and play these games like they've been playing for the past few weeks.
Now, the shoving the knife in the back is Tucker coming out and saying that Nick doesn't like the Jays. And clearly, Nick has made previous statements where he clearly doesn't like the Jay people. Now, I'm not a big fan of the kind of mass generalizations that a lot of people are making, but there is a lot of nuance to the conversation, especially when it comes to pushing open this kind of Overton window, which Nick argues is the most important thing, and he kind of drives the point home, especially with the latest things that happened between Tucker and the British dude, Piers Morgan.
Tucker does not mention the interview anymore without saying that I'm an anti-Semite.
Yeah, an J person. Now, we'll get into that. We'll play the rest of this clip as well as this kind of Piers Morgan clip and the response here. Before we do, just really quickly and shortly, we wanted to remind you to check out wearechange.shop, one of the great shops out there. It's products that I personally use, I personally like. I give it to my family members. I give it to my loved ones. I sent a really interesting, fascinating video to my, elderly family members talking about omega-3s and the importance of them, especially when it comes to helping people process things like vitamin B. Now, not to brag, I'm bragging, not totally bragging. My sleep score yesterday, 100. Now, what did I do yesterday? Eat clean, exercise, meditate, but also supplement with wearechange.shop supplements. I took 2 of the vitamin D3 plus K2 and olive oil with my breakfast. My lunch, I had a very simple leftover Thanksgiving meal from one of my friends. It wasn't the healthiest. There was like marshmallow, fricking sweet potatoes that I slopped up very, very eagerly, to be quite honest. It wasn't the healthiest. But after that, I had some fish oils. And then at night, with my last meal, which was some asparagus and some salmon, I had some magnesium glycinate. And that's what I credit. Good principles of meditation, exercise. Sleep is everything. This is how your body rejuvenates. This is how your body heals itself. This is how everything repairs and fixes itself. And most people, their sleep sucks. Their nervous system is fried up. They have anxiety. They're screwed up. I don't want that for you. I want the best for you. That's why I created wearechange.shop as a way to support you becoming the best, strongest, most amazing version of ourselves. Because who are we if we're hypocrites? If we're individuals that aren't trying to become the best versions of ourselves while grandstanding, trying to lecture people about what to do and how to do and all that. I'm not even here to lecture or grandstand. I'm just here to tell you life is short and it's worth living in a healthy, holistic, amazing way, because then it's so much better. Trust me, I was on the other side. It's not fun. Supplementation helped me tremendously. I think it can help you. That's why I have wearechange.shop. Consider some of the supplements I have and potentially taking them for your own personal benefit and health. Now, let's get back to this clip here by Nick, because I think his full context is important here, and some people are, and again, it all depends on where you stand. Now, personally, I like Tucker. I think overall, net positive, right? Huge positive when it comes to not only pushing the Overton window, but making some significant major political changes behind the scenes and on TV and on the internet now that we should be eternally grateful for, because I think he has been a tremendous game changer when it comes to pushing, propelling good ideas forward that are actually implemented, right? That actually are acted on, that are done in a way where people are like, oh, wait, a switch kind of turned off here. Yeah, this is kind of stupid with what we're doing with lockdowns and bailouts and foreign wars and conflicts and all the money that we're just literally burning away, wasting away. For what? And what do we have to show for it? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And that context has, I think, made a great impact. As, of course, there was Speakers of the House, they were terrified of him. They were celebrating. Kevin Johnson, Speaker Johnson, celebrating that he was off air, right? And that was extremely detrimental to Fox News. Fox News views still a lot lower than they were when they had the #1 news anchor in all of America holding politicians' feet to the fire. And he's willing to not just bootlick, not just be a good soldier. He's willing to, of course, push back against his own party, against his own political ideology when they become hypocrites. And there's a lot of hypocrisy. And there's a lot of nonsense. Now, granted, he doesn't always take things as far as maybe I want him to, but that's not my job. My job is to look and to judge someone by the fruit of their labor. The fruit of Tucker Carlson's labor, pretty tasty fruit compared to all the caca, peanutty corn crap everywhere that people produce. And they're like, lick on my poop slop now. Lick the poop. And I'm like, no. I want some organic, frickin' non-GMO, non-glyphosate, non-peel, Bill Gates, frickin' microplastic wrapped GMO bullcrap. I don't want that. I want the good stuff. Stop feeding me your crap. And some people are like, well, the crap's coming from the right hand instead of the left hand, so you gotta slip the hand on the right. No, you don't. All right? Tucker has shown us that you could disagree with Donald Trump, and it's okay to do that. Especially when he's bombing foreign countries. For not our benefit. That by the way, tanked, the Iran bombing thing tanked the peace deal in Ukraine. Not many people have the foresight to realize, oh, wow. As now we're getting close to allegedly going in and attacking Venezuela. Again, I think that's all a big movement to try to saber rattle and scare Maduro to relinquishing power. And then when he does relinquish power, then Trump could say, I'm like, it's none of our business. Let's take care of our things at home, which is some of the sentiments and ideas that Nick has been talking about himself. He took it a little bit further, right? He's like, don't vote for Trump. He took it way further. Some people say he took it way too far, and they're not comfortable with how far he took it, right? And again, it's all based on your type of assessment, how black-pilled you are. For me, I think the system's totally broken, but good ideas are still worth fighting for. And some people argue Tucker has more of a pragmatic way of doing that. Nick has more of a destructive way of doing that. And that's the type of analysis that I think is important to kind of comprehend and see throughout all of this, right? And that's just my own assessment. I could be wrong. And some people are saying, no, you're wrong. Okay. And if you can make an argument against what I just said, start it in the comment section. I appreciate being able to listen to different opinions that aren't mine.
That's not right. And then turning around and promoting this other guy and saying, you can explain why he's popular, you're unproblematic. And then now the clip farming? Come on now.
The clip farming he's specifically describing was this moment where Tucker Carlson was talking to Piers Morgan and was, say the F word. Again, we're on YouTube. We can't say that word in my private life. Like, you know, I like to be a little bit more verbose. In my private life. Publicly, YouTube, we play by different rules. People are like, you hypocrite. But that's the truth. You want the truth or you want me to lie to you? Right? But here, Tucker's like, say the F word with me, Piers. Piers refused. And then Tucker kind of also admitted, I don't say the N word.
I say gay. I wouldn't use the R word. I wouldn't. I personally wouldn't.
Now, if you know me, I use all of the words. But I think it depends on the context, right? If you're saying it in a very kind of hateful, bigoted way, that's not the nicest of things to do. I think Piers is wrong here. I think even Tucker is wrong here, right? But I think you know, having words that are radioactive isn't good to a full society. Am I willing? Is that my #1 fight? No, I think there's more pragmatic fights out there that are worth having. But I think it's still a fight that I essentially agree with Nick on.
Are you? My choice. By the way,
do you think it should be legal to abort a Down syndrome baby?
I am exercising my free speech right not to use that word.
I totally agree. I actually don't use the N-word ever because I think it's ugly. I just don't
So
like
by your own
I don't.
Petard, you're being
I
wasted.
kind of agree. I'm not even.
Yeah, and then people are like, and Nick's seizing on that moment, and he retweeted that video by saying LOL. He's now talking about what he sees as an effort by Tucker to, quote, clip farm, so people are talking about him. And again, that clip did go viral.
And here's why they're never going to win at this. It's because at the end of the day, what they're doing is not authentic. And so it looks like America first, it smells like America first, it tastes like America first, but it doesn't feel like America first because it's not, and it's fake. And
Now Nick's saying Tucker's not going all the way, so he's not America first. He's fake. He's limited. Okay, you can say he's limited, but I would argue, as far as implementing policies, Tucker has been way more successful than Nick, right? And that's just, I think, the truth. That's just my perspective. So I guess we're all kind of choosing our battles. Where's the battle that we choose?
things like this are the perfect example. When Tucker gets up there and says, faggot.
Yeah, the F word. And then he says he doesn't want to say the real one. And then Nick goes on, he says he's not real. And people could see that he's not real because he's not going all the way. Again, I don't think it's up to us to police. You got to do this. You got to say this. It's just like it's also kind of like a Shapiro argument. Like, you can't platform and have a conversation with this person. No, you should be saying this. And I'm like, should be able to say whatever we want. Now, Nick also came out and says if there's a second interview between him and Tucker, he's going to press him to say the N-word and say mean things about J.D. Vance's wife. And again, maybe not the most strategic, pragmatic thing to do. But there's also an underlining thing going on here, as Nick talks about the Theo cabal, specifically when it comes to Palantir, when it comes to a lot of people having questions about the influence of artificial intelligence, military surveillance tech. Now, the whole issue of Palantir, it definitely deserves more of a nuanced conversation. I do full-on videos where I talk about Palantir for like 20 minutes. They actually refuse to participate in the national identification system in the United Kingdom, but they're participating with it here domestically. And the Trump administration is now pushing Real ID, and now they're saying, oh, don't worry, you don't have a Real ID, you'll just have to pay a fine. And I'm like, we were told that it's for our safety, but now you just pay the government, and we have to forego our privacy because the government wants extra dough. Get out of here. Get rid of this national ID. Get rid of this face scanning stuff. Get rid of this surveillance tech that Donald Trump is instituting and putting in place. I mean, that I would argue, yeah, there is a legitimate concern here, as a lot of people view J.D. Vance as the kind of Palantir candidate, as The Guardian has an interesting opinion article saying J.D. Vance might wants to run in 2028. I mean, everyone is just seeing him. A lot of right-wingers are like, he's going to be the next one. I'm like, it seems too good to be true. And then the article goes on, but does he have a Palantir-shaped problem? As, of course, Palantir has been talked about wildly. A lot of people have a lot of privacy concerns about their data, their information. Observer in the UK has an article, The Man Behind Palantir, Military Industrial Empire. As the byline reads, Alex Karp, the CEO, shows how he has driven the rise of the surveillance state. And then South Park is, of course, memeing on this. And then there's very interesting kind of deep down the rabbit hole conversations about the Antichrist and the Antichrist lectures, which Peter Thiel believes will come from the pushback against the digital artificial intelligence push. His argument is the Antichrist won't be because of the AI. It will be because of people pushing back against the AI. That's who he views as the Antichrist, as of course he's heavily invested in the push for artificial intelligence. It's like, hey, the people going against my monetary interests, those are the guys that are going to be the Antichrist. And people are saying, what if you're the Antichrist building this AI? And it's an interesting conversation that is a lot more theoretical. As there's a lot more. I could do full on. I am going to do full on videos about this. specifically when it comes to Theo and the Antichrist here, the philosophies here, the ideas that are largely at play here. As, of course, it's also important to note here, Tucker Carlson's son works for J.D. Vance. That's something that Nick also has brought up. And he's talking about how this is a way to kind of hijack his movement. It's my movement. And it's an interesting kind of conversation. Who do you think is right here out of all of this? Let me know. For me, a lot of this, like, infighting and is just reductive, and it's ego-driven. And I think we have to choose our battles because we're really dealing with a very important historic time in our political landscape that is going to create very drastic changes. We want to make sure those drastic changes are for the benefit of everyone and not for the enslavement of everyone. Skepticism is your best friend. What do you think about this latest infighting? What do you think about this latest type of drama? Where should we be going as a movement? Let me know. I think the conversation is worth having. If you agree, share this video. I hope you have an incredible sleep score, and I hope you do that by eating right, exercising, meditating, and getting yourself some good supplements on wearechange.shop. I love you guys. I want to be here if it wasn't for you guys watching, supporting me on wearechange.shop, and this is why. Stay tuned for, love you again. Stay tuned for more here on youtube.com/wearechange.